Ladies and gentlemen, a lawsuit filed by Tony Buzbee representing a John Doe against Diddy is no. The judge said no, it won't go. Like I told you before, y'all haven't been paying attention to what's going on. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get into some of this straight game.
Life is like cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy Delray Richardson, platinum artist, platinum songwriter, Straight Game TV. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and like I always say, if you want to be one of the first people notified when I drop some of this straight game, please do me a favor and click on what appears to be that little bell notification right below this video. I'm gonna get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, Sean P. Diddy Combs has scored another win in a case involving a John Doe. Ladies and gentlemen, I told you guys from the beginning, when Tony Buzbee first came out and started and said he had 100 lawsuits, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of those lawsuits were basically accusing Diddy of things that what we know now, for what we understand now, should I say, is not Diddy's MO, right? This particular lawsuit, let's get into the facts, ladies and gentlemen. So like I said, so here's the deal. Diddy just scored another legal win, right? John Doe came forward earlier this year claiming that Diddy drugged and sexually assaulted him in a nightclub back in February, if you will, right? This is when he claimed back in February when he filed the case. This had been some years ago that this accusation was made, right? And, you know, that's a heavy accusation. That's a heavy accusation. But us listening to the court and the trial and everything that came out, we understand that Diddy is not the type that drugs people. They take drugs while they're doing what they're doing, right? And everybody is participating, as you heard from Mr. Howard, who was on the Art of Dialogue. Also, Daniel Phillips, who was on the Art of Dialogue. Like I said, none of them complained about them ever being drugged and Diddy doing anything to them sexually from that perspective. Only that he liked to watch while and then participate later with Cassie or Jane or whoever else. So when these lawsuits started to pop up, I'm like, hold on. Like, from what we've seen in a civil lawsuit, it really doesn't bode well for how Diddy likes to get down from that perspective, right? The lawsuit was filed by high-profile attorney Tony Buzbee. Pointed a picture of intimidation. Painted a picture of intimidation, manipulation, and threats to the man's music career. Serious allegations. Like I said, once again, you had Jaguar right out here talking about Justin Bieber and all of these other things. They were simply not true, ladies and gentlemen. Talking about Usher and all of this other stuff. Like I said, once again, we know none of those things to be true. People were just, basically jumping off the bridge, or should I say just going out on a limb, with these allegations that were unproven, right? But let's be crystal clear. The judge didn't dismiss this case because the claims were proven false or weak. No, the judge dismissed. A dismissal came down to the statute of limitations, right? And what that tells me is that whoever filed this case, whoever John Doe is, evidently he didn't feel like he wanted to file a case if there was any kind of merit to the case at all. We don't know. I'm giving it no credibility at all. I'm giving it no credibility at all. I'm just not, man. I'm just not. Like I said, after the case with Tony Buzbee went sour against Jay-Z and Diddy, and with this young lady who was claiming something happened at this White House and party and all, and it was totally untrue. So like I said, anything that comes about from that perspective, I'm not believing it no more. Like as I didn't before. Like I said, we know what Diddy is into now. all of the information basically came out in court. And like I said, it was freak offs over and over and over and over again. It wasn't nobody drugging nobody, and Diddy actually doing something to a guy, if you will, from that perspective. And so he was paying guys thousands of dollars. Him and Cassie were paying guys thousands of dollars to sleep with Cassie while it wasn't something that was alleged, something like that was alleged in this John Doe lawsuit, if you will. And so when you understand that, right, like, once the time runs out in a case, the court can't touch it, right? Even if the accusations are legit. In New York, the statute of limitations for this type of claim was 5 years, right? So, and I would believe that you would believe that this John Doe, whoever it was, even if the person even existed, right? The John Doe himself, when you think about it, you wonder if his attorney knew that the statute of limitations had run out, but still filed the case anyway, going out on a limb, right? So, like I said, here's where it gets tricky, though, right? Back in 2019, New York passed a new law that extended the statute of limitations for sexual assault claims from 5 years to 20 years. But the key detail, that law was not retroactive, meaning it only applies to cases after that law took effect. This lawsuit was basically too late. The judge's hands were tied, and the judge had to dismiss the lawsuit. This right here shows how the system works. Sometimes the law protects you, not because you're innocent, but because time ran out on accountability. That's the cold reality. Like I said, once again, in any situation, that would be the facts as they lay out. But in this situation, the bigger picture, this doesn't mean that Diddy's in the clear on everything. Far from it. He's still facing multiple lawsuits, ongoing investigations, and his name stays tied up in controversy. But legally speaking, every time one of these cases gets dismissed, it chips away at the narrative his accusers are trying to build in court. Perception is power. Diddy knows that. And ladies and gentlemen, once again, when we talk about the big picture, these are John Doe cases. Cassie was woman enough to come and file a civil case, get up on the stand. Jane, all of these other people, like I said, well, Cassie the one, because she was the only one that really got paid from that perspective. But she got up on the stand. I mean, so this John Doe and Jane Doe cases, Tony Buzbee had also got a Jane Doe case dismissed earlier this year, based on the fact that the so-called Jane Doe didn't want to reveal herself, if you will, right? Once again, so like I said, are these people even real? We have no idea if they're real or these are just lawsuits that are being thrown up against the wall to actually see what sticks. But let's check it out. But let's not miss the human element of this, right? We can't miss the human element, right? Behind this legal move, right? Or should I say these legal moves are real people with real trauma. We hope. And if it is somebody who's dealt with real trauma, like I said, once again, I would hope and pray that they find forgiveness for whatever they need to find forgiveness for. But like I said, I'm not playing into, if I don't see the person, you know what I mean? If you can't come and do a John Doe or Jane Doe lawsuit under these circumstances, you got to reveal yourself, man. You just got to understand the circumstances and what that means and what it means. You have to reveal yourself now, especially dealing with these Tony Buzbee lawsuits. You know what I mean? You got to reveal yourself. You got to reveal yourself. And so, and every time, like I say, the cases get thrown out on a technicality, survivors see it as another door slammed in their face. Once again, like I said, I don't know who this person is or if this person actually even exists, because it was a John Doe lawsuit. And like I said, none of Tony Buzbee's lawsuits have went forward against Diddy. None of the 100 he hasn't settled one. He hasn't got a verdict on one. Nothing, right? And nobody in his lawsuits have mentioned their real name or come out and reveal themselves. That's the reason why I have such skepticism in relation to this situation. And so, like I said, once again, we heard about the situation involving Sarah Rivers with Ariel Mitchell. 21 of her claims got dismissed, and the other situation is involving the SDNY appeals court. So we're going to see what happens with that. But once again, the judge did not believe that either. So, like I said, when Diddy was facing what he was facing, everybody thought, a lot of people, I'm not going to say everybody, but a lot of people thought that he was going to face this astronomical amount of time. He was going to get convicted of RICO. That didn't happen, right? So now, when they thought it was happening, everybody piled on, right? Here's an opportunity for a payday. It doesn't seem like that's going down. Diddy's fighting. I mean, he got the money. He got the money to hire the best lawyers, and they showing up and they definitely represent to the fullest. So when we understand what's been going on, like I said, if you want to call it a win, yeah, I would call it a win. Like I said, once again, and Diddy still has to go to sentencing in October, and we're going to see what happens with that. But like I said, once again, this looks like another a win for Diddy involving a lawsuit filed by Tony Buzbee, who said he had 100 lawsuits. And listen to me, ladies and gentlemen, you gotta understand this, how funny this actually is. Diddy was dealing with Cassie for 10 years, and they were doing freak offs, and they were perfectly cool. So all of these other 100 people, where the hell did they come from? You know what I mean? If they wasn't participating in the freak offs with Cassie, Jane, or any other girls that he was dealing with, where does these cases come from? Somebody alleging that Diddy drugged them and threatened their music career and so on and so forth. Oh man, it's crazy. It's crazy. And actually it's sad. It's actually sad. Like I said, once again, people hoping for a money grab. So the question is, was this justice or just the law doing what it always does for the powerful? You got to ask yourself that question. And that's for you to decide. That's basically for you to decide. You know what I mean? I don't want to decide anything for you. Like I said, you got to ask yourself, was this justice or just the law protecting powerful people again? Or was this lawsuit a frivolous lawsuit to begin with, right? Filed too late, did not meet the statute of limitations, and got dismissed because it was supposed to get dismissed because it never represented anybody anyway. Like I said, you cannot come forward and be a John Doe against a Sean P. Diddy Combs after this trial, and we know what he was into. It's and allege some of the things that people are alleging. We know now that wasn't his MO. That wasn't his MO. His MO wasn't, drugging dudes and, taking dudes back. And he was paying cats thousands and thousands and thousands upon thousands of dollars to do what they were doing, which was freak offs. So anything alleging, like I said, I'm looking at it with a side eye. I get what he was into. That's his business. Now we understand that. Like I said, you got to look at any of these other lawsuits that's being filed. Like what the lawsuit saying that he's doing? Yeah, that don't sound like him, because this guy was paying thousands of dollars, man. Like I said, the guy Howard and Phillips over there on the Art of Dialogue, they were just telling everything that was going on, and it was nothing like that. It was nothing like that. And so, understanding that, we have to understand the key to all of this. Like I told you, the Jay-Z lawsuit got dismissed. The Jay-Z and Diddy, where they included Jay-Z and ran Jay-Z name through the mud, man. Ain't nothing happened like that, man. I knew that from the beginning. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? You got to understand, these guys had access to some of the baddest women on the planet, man. Baddest women and the money to handle their business accordingly. There's no reason for you to be dealing with some kind of young lady from that perspective, as was being alleged by Tony Buzbee and the young lady. Now Jay-Z still has the defamation case going on. And so, yeah, it's kind of crazy. So like I said, Diddy's legal battles are far from over. Like I said, but here at Straight Game TV, we're going to keep breaking it down, man. Sharp, bold, and uncut. Like I say, tap in, and we appreciate each and everybody So tell me, guys, what do you think about the Diddy situation? You know, is this a legal win, right? Or is this, you know, justice protecting the rich again? Or is this lawsuit didn't have no merit to begin with, and it was fake from the beginning? Tap in and let me know. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate your time. Your boy Delray, straight gang.
They said Tupac was untouchable, but behind the walls of Rikers Island, he was just a man, wounded, watching his back, and wondering who he could trust. He survived bullets, betrayal, and isolation behind bars. But what happened inside those walls has never been told until now. In the darkest corner of Rikers, he found betrayal and a brotherhood no one saw coming. These dudes smiled in my face, then flipped and tried to kill me, and I never saw it coming. They were Puff's security, Biggie's muscle, Henchman's people, and Tupac knew exactly who sent them. This is the side of Tupac Shakur the world never got to see, told by the man who lived it with him, not in the studio, but in a 6x9 cell. The rap battles, sex and drama with female guards, the tears, the silence after Jada Pinkett's visit, and the moment Tupac almost broke. Before Death Row, before All Eyes on Me, before Machiavelli, there was Rikers. Behind the Walls with Tupac Shakur, available now on Amazon. Get your copy. Learn the truth.